SignageLive. On chat today we have Robbie, who will be able to answer any questions you may have during the webinar. We estimate this webinar will take no longer than 30 minutes. And today we're going to be looking at deployment and covering the following: default playlists, schedulable content, interrupts, assigning playlists to content zones, and deploying content. So I've logged into SignageLive through an internet browser. I'm on our remote media sales network, and today we're going to look at deployment. So if I go to content and I go down to deployment, the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to deploy a default playlist. So if I go to the top selection here, default playlist, so default playlist can actually be sent to any version of our software. Playlists will only be accepted obviously on Virtual Player because Virtual Player doesn't support the layouts. So if we look at our playlist screen here, so we've got our search bar at the top. So what I can do is I can actually search for a playlist. So if we type in SignageLive, so that's done a search on anything with SignageLive in the title or SignageLive as a tag associated with that playlist. Next to the search button, we've got a drop down. Within that, we've got our advanced search. So what I can do here is if I hit advanced, I can search for anything with SignageLive in the title or as a tag, and I can look for it by date. So once you've done your search and you've actually found the playlist that you want to send as a default, so we'll use the SignageLive screensaver. All you do is you just double click onto the thumbnail. And now what SignageLive is doing is it's going to guess a list of all of the players that are sitting on your network. And as you can see here, we have a pop-up. So it says, add players. Do you wish to add the players without warning or error to the deployment list? I'll say no to this, and I'll show you why. If you look in our search results tab down the left-hand side, we have green, but we also have our amber colours. So going back to the way that SignageLive works in a traffic light system, so green means everything's going to play fine on the player, amber means there's going to be some issues, and red means that you cannot deploy to that player or that device. So what I can do here is if I click into this SignageLive player, it gives me the player information. So we've got the type, the location, whether it supports layouts or not, and all of the file types that are supported on the player. And as you can see here, with the issues, there is none, so they haven't actually appeared in the box below. But if we did want to send to one of the players, which is either a yellow or a red colour code, if I click into this one here, as you can see, an issue has appeared. And it's that an asset within that playlist is not supported by the player itself. So we've got a list of all of the players sitting on our network here. What I can do is I can actually search for individual players. So I've just done a search there under SignageLive, and a list below has appeared of any of the players that either have SignageLive in the setup or a tag associated with SignageLive. To assign tags to your players, all you need to do is if I click into player at the top, in the player information, there's a blue button in the top right hand corner saying View Player. If I hit that, it's now going to load me into our Network Manager. Within the Network Manager, we can actually set up tags to our individual players on our network. So if we go to the Tags tab, as you can see here, all of these tags are associated with this player. Just to add another tag in, all I do is just click on the box and then add any new tags in. So our tags now appeared. So let's go back now and let's send this default playlist to some of our players. So all I need to do is just click on this cross, or I can drag the players across. And then once I'm happy with the players that I want to send that default playlist to, all I do then is hit deploy. And the next time those players go to do their content check, they'll see that I've sent a new playlist to them, and they'll actually download it and start playing it as the default playlist. So let's go back to our deployments now, and let's look at schedules and interrupts. So we're going to start with interrupts. An interrupt is a keyboard press or mouse click signal that's sent to the player, which then switches the content being played on the screen. When an interrupt is triggered, the current content is paused and the configured interrupt, media, asset, playlist or layout will begin to play. So let's select an interrupt. So how would you like to show your interrupt? So we can have it shown as a key press. So if I hit as a key press, and then all we do from here is we basically select the key and hit next. And then how would we like it to stop? So we can have it stop on a key press. We can get it to play to length, or we can get it to play for a fixed duration. But if we just go back and look at the with a mouse click, so how would you like it to show? So instead of a key press, we'll look at with a mouse click. So you can start the click anywhere, or you can actually define a user area. So this works perfectly on a touchscreen application, where you may have our display edition running, and you may want to have areas on the screen where it's triggered off by what would be a mouse click, which is a press on an area, and then takes you into either a media asset, a playlist, or a layout. So let's send an interrupt to one of our screens. So we'll stick with the key press, and we'll play it to length, and we'll finish with a key press. So what do we wish to show? So we can show a single media asset, we can show a playlist, we can show a layout. So I'm going to choose a single media asset. So now all we need to do is go and find our asset. So I can search for the asset. And we'll use the SignageLive video. Press OK. And now we're gathering all of the players that are sitting on our network again. So adding the players, we'll say no. And then all we need to do is just search for our players. And we'll say no to adding all of the players, because as you can see here, we have a red tagged player. And with the issues, we have 3. So the player does not support interrupts. So what I do then is select the players and then hit deploy. So as you can see at the top here, we've got our current deployments. So it's got the video file, the duration, and then a start key and an end key. So that's for our interrupt. So let's go back to deployments now. And let's look at schedules. So how would you like to show your content? So we'll say as a schedule. When do you want your schedule to start? So we can say now, or we can actually run it on a specific date. So if I hit on a specific date, what I can do here is I can pick a date for it to start. So we can have this say starting on Monday. We change the time. Hit OK. And then when would you like the schedule to end? So you can have it running until further notice, or you can have it running until a specific date. So if we look at the specific date, again, what I can do is I could say I only want this to run from Monday to Friday of next week. And within the end date, I can actually set recurrences. So what I can say is that I only want this to play, say, weekdays, and then I can set a start time to it and a finish time. And then hit OK. So now, what do I wish to show? So we can either show a playlist or a layout. Now a playlist is a collection of uploaded media assets that you've created within the playlist creator, which will run in sequence and will be displayed on your player as full screen content. Now you can send a playlist to all 4 versions of our software, or we can send a layout. Now a layout allows you to create multi-zones, which can include elements such as multiple playlists, RSS feeds, static text and images, background images and widgets. These are supported in 3 of the 4 versions of our software. So our display edition, our screensaver and our desktop. Layouts are not supported in Virtual Player. So let's look at sending a layout. So what I now need to do is actually find the layout that we've created within SignageLive to put my playlist into to deploy to my screens. So again, I can do a search for this. So we've just done a little search on SignageLive. And we use the corporate layout, this third thumbnail in. If I double click into that, So what we now have on the screen is our layout, and we just need to put our playlists into these film strip areas. So if I double click into this first area, now I'm being asked, when do you want to show your playlist? So I can either have it playing for the duration of the layout or on a specific date and time. So we'll say for the duration of the layout, and now all I need to do is go and find the playlist to go into that area. So we'll use the SignageLife screensaver, and I can either complete the schedule or I can add another playlist in here. What I've also got the ability to do is in the top right hand side I can view the schedule. So if I hit view schedule, you'll see that I've obviously just added the SignageLife screensaver playlist, and the start and end date there reflects the start and end date that I put in at the beginning when I was creating the deployment. So if I did want to add another playlist, all I do is hit add another playlist and select whether I wanted it for the duration of the layout or on a specific date and time. So say we wanted this on a specific date and time. When do we want it to start? From when the layout starts. And when do we want it to finish? So say we wanted this to finish slightly earlier than the layout itself. All we then do is go in, select the date that we wanted this additional playlist to finish, and then hit OK. We'd find our playlist, and then we can complete the schedule. So moving over to the right hand side, we're just double clicking into the film strip area again, and we're being asked the same question. So we'll say for the duration of the layout, and now we just need to go and find our playlist. And we'll complete the schedule. Our bottom section here, if we double click onto that, we need to now select a feed, or we can add a playlist. So if we hit select a feed, then all we need to do is just go and search for our RSS feed. So we'll search for BBC, and we'll take the BBC front page news. If we double click, that will now appear in our RSS feed at the bottom. Once we're happy with our layout, and once our layout is completely configured, we hit OK, the green button at the bottom. And again, we're back to gathering all of the players on our network, and we're being asked the same questions. Do you wish to add the players without warning to your deployment list? So we'll say no. And if we look again on the left-hand side in our search results, we can see here, we again have a mixture of colours. So anything green, it's completely supported. Anything in yellow means that there are issues. Anything in red means that that content will not deploy to that device. So if we click into this first yellow player, you can see here, the issue is the resolution of the screen. And the resolution isn't supported by the layout. And if we go down to the bottom of our list, and we look at this small device, as you can see, this player does not support layouts. So I actually cannot move that over to my deploy to. With the players that appear in yellow, I could deploy to them, so I can actually move them over to my deploy to. and that will send the content down to the players. So again, what I can do from here is I can search. So we'll maybe search for Samsung this time. If I hit search and say no to that again, it's a list of all of the players that's sitting on my network that either tagged Samsung or Samsung are in the title. And what I can do is I can move them across. And then once I'm happy with all of the players, all I need to do from there is just hit deploy. And the next time my Samsung players go to do their content check, they'll see that I've sent a new layout that's going to start on Monday and end on Friday, and they'll start downloading the layout now, and they'll actually store it locally on the player, and then when it gets to Monday the 28th of November at 9 o'clock, they will start playing that content, and then when it gets to Friday the 2nd, they'll stop playing that content. So that's it for today's webinar. On deployments, we've looked at default playlists, scheduling content, interrupts, assigning playlists to content zones, deploying content, and we've also looked at player tags. Thank you for your time today. All of our videos will be available online shortly for the 4 webinars that we've done recently in this series on how to use SignageLive. If you have any questions, Robbie will be available on chat for the next 5 or 10 minutes.